Welcome back to Definitely Not Definitive. I'm Ken.
And I'm Bethany.
And we're just an overly enthusiastic couple in love that loves watching some Overwatch.
We're getting back to Overwatch.
Yes, this is Overwatch Genesis. They did, I guess, like some anime shorts, and this is all 3 of them. We're gonna check them all out. And yeah, if you want all of our Overwatch reactions, check out the description of this video because we got a playlist there for you. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay.
CSIS Unit 37. Toronto is under attack. By Null Sector.
There's something different about Null Sector this time.
They've taken over most of the city and they're rounding up Omnics. They need our help.
People are answering Winston's recall. There's new blood on the team, and we have so much to teach them.
Nice.
If we can stop Null Sector, maybe we can save the city.
Coming through!
Been a while, Vivian.
Hey.
I didn't have enough problems already.
So we fly up there, smash through anything that gets in our way, and put them out of business.
I hate to interrupt the moment, but I'm picking up reports of more attacks in other cities.
It's a fight they want. I say let's give it to them.
Engage. Target marked.
Time to create peace with bullets. Greetings.
Oh, yeah!
The world is counting on us.
Ground forces deployed to Rally Point Green. Sky, what's your inbound?
Roger, 30 seconds. Battalion spotted your sector, 50 clicks south-southeast.
Copy that. Delta, take positions. Overwatch on site. Taking heavy fire. Sky, confirm targets.
Affirm. Units approaching. Grid point 19 Charlie.
You've been spotted. You've been spotted. Get out of here, Sky. Get out of here.
I've made it out.
No matter what you call them, warbots, Tinkens, they were soulless machines. But the truth is, we were scared. I was scared. They were supposed to be the beginning of a new life. But in that moment, it felt like the end of humanity.
Life before the war was extraordinary. Anything was possible. We had implemented God programs. The next generation of artificial intelligence became omnipresent. They controlled most of our infrastructures, like the food distribution systems aimed at helping against famine, poverty.
That'll be good.
We were no longer defined by our mistakes. No. The AIs were saving us from them.
Artificial intelligence was running systems to make our lives better, but what was really exciting was combining it with robotics. Omnica Corp started building a new line of state-of-the-art robots. Omnics would eventually eliminate the need for humans to do all those idle, mundane, often dangerous jobs.
Everyday needs that puts power at your fingertips.
Line of robots that put power by your side.
And geared up to put power in their hands. Omnica Corp, always looking to what's next.
Society embraced it.
Sure, we had the pedal to the metal. But who was really paying attention to the road?
Look, Omnica kept making robots smarter, and they made life easier and safer. And as you know, this business is all about what's next.
And what was next was Mina.
And in Tech Talk, Omnica Corps announced today that Dr. Mina Liao, the science prodigy and eminent visionary in robotics, will develop the next generation of Omnics.
Omnica Corp has made a lot of strides, and, well, we're going to do better. What I mean is, they've done great. We've done great. But it's time to reach for the stars.
Frankly, I had my doubts. Dr. Liao was a legend in her field, but we were asking her to push the limits of what many thought was already perfection.
Somebody should have put a stop to it. It wasn't science. It was arrogance.
When it came down to the moment of truth, we had no idea what was about to happen.
It didn't just activate.
She was born. Life before the war was extraordinary. Anything was possible. But it was all about to change.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Now the robot just wants to make you cry all the time.
Aurora was the first of us to awaken. Can you imagine how she must have felt? Born in a laboratory, surrounded by your creators. And then you learn the truth, that there is no other creature like you anywhere. That you are truly alone.
Dr. Liao discovered that Aurora was sentient, that she was alive, thinking, choosing.
It was hard to believe. I didn't want to believe it at first.
She passed every single test we could come up with. Every one.
And then the entire world found out. Dr. Liao committed career suicide by saying Aurora was alive. But her testimony was very compelling.
This just in, a stunning ruling.
Robot was declared a sentient being.
Granted her freedom and released into the world.
I was so relieved. She had a chance to actually live free. And she made the most of it.
Aurora had been born into a world that she didn't understand. She wanted to see more of it. She went everywhere, learning, watching, seeing how humans treated each other, the good and the bad. But eventually, she had questions about the nature of her own existence. About her soul. And she could only find those answers alone.
Oh, well, while all that was happening, there was a lot more scrutiny into Omnica Corp's operations. It didn't go well for us.
Oh, damn.
Mismanagement, fraud even. But in a couple of years, Omnica was done.
All those automated production lines, completely abandoned and unmonitored for years. By humans, anyway.
Breaking news out of Nigeria. Countless social media reports of an invasion underway.
Remains unclear exactly what's happening in Central Africa, but we do have some footage from the scene.
Also getting eyewitness reports of strange robots designed for combat.
We were caught by surprise. The world was caught by surprise.
Definitely not.
Omnics were attacking everywhere. It seemed like every country was hit from every direction, all at once.
We didn't know it then, but one of the God programs, originally designed to help humanity, had hijacked Omnica's production lines to build warbots of its own design.
They called it Anubis. It was built to maintain ecological balance of all things. For conservation.
Its goals could not be achieved without the end of humanity. And it used us to carry out its plan.
We were running out of hope. But there was a little. Only a few teams across the world were able to mount a real defense. The best of the best joined the special strike team.
You don't get enough of that guy.
Called Overwatch.
It was a brilliant decision to recruit Dr. Liao, who knew more about Omnics than she did.
Those first victories showed the world what Overwatch could do. Soon the strike team was joined by a whole army. Of course, recruits like me were always amazed by what the core team could do. Overwatch had the impossible objective of winning the war. And sometimes, it seemed we might actually pull it off. Anubis didn't sleep, didn't feel fear, and didn't feel despair. But it also couldn't feel hope. That was what Overwatch gave us. And even then, we had to wonder if hope was going to be enough.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, damn. Yeah, those
Not-
got blood.
Yeah, right?
The United Nations created Overwatch, and we won some victories. We thought the tide had turned. Unfortunately, it did not quite work out that way. But life had to go on.
Any battle we won, the Anubis program was learning from its defeat. We could never beat it the same way twice.
Annihilation, or victory, depending on your point of view, seemed inevitable. And I know I had no choice in the matter. I was under the control of the Anubis program. But it haunts me.
All the Omnics had their major subroutines overridden and controlled by a lone god program. All except one. Aurora.
Hey.
her sentience meant that she was immune to the Anubis directives. But if the AI could interface with all these Omnics, maybe Aurora could too.
She was one of a kind. But we had found a way to replicate her, to transmit her. But the cost would be so incredibly high.
Just sacrifice yourself. Spare parts.
Whatever Aurora was looking for on her journey to Shambhala, in that moment, she had found it.
We were pretty confident we knew what the results would be. But I will never fully understand what really happened in there.
Aurora gave us a chance.
Everything changed. It was the strangest thing I ever saw. That moment would be known as the awakening.
For the first time in our existence, we were suddenly given a choice.
Nice. Some of them are going to choose to kill.
Some chose to lay down their weapons.
Yeah.
Some continued to fight the humans. But some of us chose to turn against the AI that had held us captive. We had a choice.
Overwatch seized the moment. They started a counteroffensive. It would take some time, but it was the start of us winning the war. The strikes and counter-strikes eventually drove the enemy forces to collapse. By some small miracle, we infiltrated and quarantined Anubis in Cairo. Months later, the war was over. We had won. I got to know some of them. They are like us. Reflections of us. Some are no good. Some I would trust with my life. I suppose we all had an awakening.
The awakening? Of course I remember. For one brief moment, we were all connected and aware. What I remember more than anything else is her message. My friends, when I was born,
I was overwhelmed. Overwhelmed by the sudden rush of senses, emotions, choices. I was excited, alive. It was frightening. But I found in facing fear, there is freedom. And through freedom, you can find your own path. I have chosen to share the discovery with you. A new beginning. I wish I could stay. You have this one life. Choose well.
You have this one life.
Choose well.
Choose well.
right, that was some good lore for Overwatch. I really enjoyed it, and I like the fact that they were talking about, by facing your fears, it's a way to truly live your life. It opens up so much more.
What a topical Overwatch
for the
snapshot
AI,
right now. So on the same subject of what you just talked about, I loved Aurora's whole thing about being awoken and feeling all the things and knowing all the choices that were presented to her and kind of like the endless possibility that the world offers. I thought that was so wonderful. I think sometimes we often take for granted the kind of magic that is life, that is living in this world, that is being able to feel things and have emotions and get all wrapped up in all of that for the good and bad, because it's both, right?
Yeah.
But it is kind of its own magic. And the endless possibilities of life, I think we often feel or can feel trapped or fall into a certain lifestyle or pattern or job or whatever it might be, and then feel like we don't have options anymore. But life always offers options. You have to be maybe willing to take some risk or consider the consequences and be willing to weigh those against the benefits. But life has endless possibility. There are options. So I liked all of that reminder. But then on the flip side of that, I just couldn't help but think, Jesus, this is very very possibly foreshadowing our existence right now. I mean, the one female scientist in there talked about how, when AI was developed and started to do all these great things, like humans stomped on the gas pedal. We went 110% into it. And that is kind of where we are with AI right now. I mean, we're putting it into our medicine. We're finding ways to include it in our infrastructure. It's coming into the workplace. It's just all in kind of everywhere. At the same time, we see where that might not be the best thing, to have AI controlling so many aspects of our life and our government and supply chains and inner workings of the way our country functions. So I don't know. It's an interesting topic. I think it's a little bit fascinating, and it's kind of an exciting time to be alive.
Yeah, I mean, and they've been doing that AI is gonna be the death of the world in a bunch of different movies and TV shows over the years. I think what's different a little bit about it now is like things that are created now kind of like have that a little bit of different perspective, since now we're kind of living in that time of AI, whereas before it was just kind of like, okay, well, when AI comes, this is probably what's going to happen. It's going to be the downfall of it. But now, like, watching it sort of unfold gives it like a new perspective for storytelling, which I think is pretty cool, which I think you saw in this. And what I liked about Aurora's awakening of like everyone else was the fact that they didn't use Aurora to just sort of control, to do what Anubis was doing, was to control the robots, but like put them on their side. It was just to release them and give them the freedom of choice. And, then it's up to them on which side they truly want to fight for. And I think it's just another great reminder about having a freedom of choice and, our free will, and just that kind of gift it is. And it does lead to, unfortunately bad things as well. But that is a great gift.
I mean, I'm the forever optimist 90% of the time. 10% of the time, like when I'm not the optimist, I'm like in total despair. So I don't live in the middle. I go to the extremes. But I do really believe that people are inherently good, that they tend towards being humane, that they tend towards being kind and considerate. And we all feel good when we are those things. You don't feel good when you're a asshole, sorry for the language, but that's what it is. And so I have faith that when you put faith into people and when you allow them freedom and choice and empower them and do good for them, you get good back. It's often the people who are desperate, who don't have choice, who are trapped, who are, think of 1,000,001 other adjectives and circumstances to go along with that, but those are often the ones who are doing the bad things or the cruel things because they feel they don't have a choice.
I think it's also interesting the trial that they had for Aurora and like, setting her free, like if she truly is a free thinker and has freedom of choice and is a sentient being. It's tough because like you created her and then it's like something a creation. It's a different way of giving life. It's like not a way of giving life that we're not used to. So that's going to be a really interesting how we deal with that. Like when AI does eventually get to that point where it can freely think on its own and be its own entity. Like, I mean, then what do you do? And like you look at like, things like Detroit Become Human and giving rights and whatnot to artificial intelligence. And so, yeah, it's just, it's a whole can of worms in there, but I mean, it could be there's a lot of great things to happen, and then also a lot of scary things.
Well, and one key piece of what they talked about was when they paired AI with robotics. And we're not there at this moment because it's, it's Chat GPT, it's online things, it's software things. We haven't really put AI into hardware. I mean, I'm sure they're experimenting with it probably, but it hasn't come to a public consumption in that form. That I think is such a turning point, possibly for good, possibly for bad, possibly for both and neither, who knows? But I mean, that's where you get the things like Terminator, right? Like those are the robots that are all going to kill us. So I don't know. It's an exciting time to be alive. There's endless possibilities with this and who knows where it's going to go, but it certainly is an interesting topic of conversation.
Let us know what you thought about these down below in the comments, and more suggestions to check out for Overwatch stuff as it comes out, and other stuff we maybe have not seen. We have a big playlist of all of our Overwatch reactions down below in the description of this video that you should check out, as well as a link to our Patreon. We can get early ad-free access to our videos. Thanks so much for checking out our reaction for Overwatch Genesis, but just keep in mind
that our reaction is definitely not definitive.